World Press Freedom Day, celebrating the heartbeat of truth in the Pacific. Embracing the rich tapestry of cultures and voices across the region, today we honor journalists and broadcasters who navigate diverse landscapes to tell stories that matter. From remote islands to bustling cities, press freedom is the cornerstone of democracy in the Pacific, where diverse perspectives shape our understanding of the world. Let's stand in solidarity with Pacific broadcasters facing unique challenges, from climate crisis to political pressures, as they courageously amplify the voices of their communities. Happy World Press Freedom Day, empowering the Pacific's vibrant storytelling tradition.
Kia ora and warm Pacific greetings. Welcome to this special edition as we celebrate World Press Freedom Day. Today, we honor the dedication of journalists and broadcasters in delivering credible news and stories across our shores.
We certainly have a great lineup for you today as we share with you environmental stories told by our Pacific journalists as we embrace this year's theme, A Press for the Planet, Journalism in the Face of the Environmental Crisis. You will hear from the likes of Barbara Drever, a familiar face on our screens in the Pacific, beloved to some and feared by others who've been exposed by her work across 3 decades. Barbara is our Flavor of the Month and is a finalist for the prestigious Voyager Media Awards, which will be held later this month. Tell you what, when Barbara Drever shows up, 2 things. Either you've done something right, if not, then something wrong.
It's an honor to have you along, Barbara. Let's talk about journalism in the Pacific and how far we've come.
There's always been great journalists in the Pacific in the decades that I've worked there, especially in print and radio, and it's just wonderful to see the work Pasifika TV is doing, especially with the training and development of television. But you know, the one thing about media freedom is that it's very much dependent on the government at the time, and we've seen that in Fiji when for over a decade there was no media freedom in Fiji, and now we're starting to see a change there. And so it does show how important it is as journalists that we stand together as a region.
Barbara, in the face of growing environmental challenges in the Pacific, how do you balance reporting facts with advocating for action to address these issues?
There is no delicate balance because it's our job to merely be a reporter and report the facts. It is not our job to advocate for change. What we need to do as reporters is make sure that we have good, strong voices in our stories who they can do the advocating for change. We are the messenger. We are the platform that people can put their voices and opinions on. It is only when you have become a very experienced journalist and experienced in your field that you can do an opinion piece, which is very distinct from a news piece, advocating for good things, but again it's very subjective and you need to be really careful with that.
Barbara, can you please share a memorable experience where your journalistic integrity clashed with external pressures?
Well, so many years ago I did a story in Niue, and it was about this logging company, and they were going to come in, and Malaysian companies, and they were going to come in and do the logging. It was supported by government, and I exposed what was behind these logging companies, which was a whole raft of environmental problems in the past, and it would have been disastrous for Niue had they gone ahead with that. So it was really good that I did that story despite the pressures on me from both the company and the government at the time not to.
As media freedom faces global challenges, what strategies do you believe are most effective in safeguarding press freedom in our region?
It's just to report the truth, and it's really that simple, and it's making sure that you can access good talent to be part of your stories. There is a lot of pressure on social media and making sure that we are respected and you hold true to the principles of journalism is the biggest strategy that I can think of. But also being together as a group and as a region of good journalism, journalists, and promoting good journalism, training and working together, that's one of the best strategies that I can think of in this changing world.
Now, looking ahead, how do you envision the role of Pacific journalists evolving in addressing environmental crises in our region?
I think we just keep doing what we're doing. It's really that simple, but it's also understanding and making sure that we as journalists understand the facts and figures and research behind environmental issues and environmental change that's happening around us, especially in our home countries. So it's really pretty much doing that and building on our knowledge base. That's super important. Also, the platforms that we use, it's really important that it might not be the traditional platforms, it could be on YouTube. There's a number of good platforms that you can use to get to the people who you represent.
Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule. Now, finally, your thoughts on media in the Pacific.
One of the big issues is, of course, misinformation, and there is a lot on social media, and that's why I say make sure that your stories are full of facts and figures and research, because on Facebook quite often they are not, and it's that misinformation which is doing our people a massive disservice. So make sure that you are watertight in your stories, and we have to beat this misinformation which is spreading on social media.
Thank you, Barbara, for your invaluable insights. We continue our exploration of press freedom and environmental journalism in the Pacific. Now we take you across to Vanuatu. Let's hear from VBTC's Jamie Brown as he sheds light on his unique challenges and aspirations.
Every year on May the 3rd, the world commemorates World Press Freedom Day. In 2024, we turn our attention to the Pacific region and the challenges faced by journalists and reporters in covering news within our own countries and regions.
Name me Jamie Brown, me blo Island of Pentecost, lo Vanuatu. Me 23 years old. Me started my career as a journalist lo back lo 2022, and me 2 years now when me step inside lo work as one journalist. Me very fascinated blo how blo me save cope more explore more stories inside the community, especially how we miss give out information lo public. That me become also one person where me in charge please have got to be able to give out information lo 1 month. Lo me that me young me come up me feel is one pathway me want them supplement. Today me very fortunate lo VBDC me have give opportunity lo me have come work as one journalist where me aspire for time since time young for time start look news and all the other stuff. We got full of challenges where you as one journalist me face especially time couple caramel information with mini team to make one report them and all challenges and how you miss have establishing network with them source information. So you got challenge sometimes by source information do and them sometimes only have a delay, only have no accept them you go current interview mul get out them. So and me one big challenge from you me for me got mentality away sometimes same mentality so full of time and me very hard look one man to give him information. So you must go through the network, you must report back lo post brief lo from get more experience and only got more network. So you must rely very reliable get so these are some challenges, and also lo time blow challenge yung la face yung side plo report especially time one crisis or one climate crisis and how imi go around mo safety blito so one channel is time stop cover up one especially one climate crisis and cyclone and so time imi stop go around also I putum you one low risk and emi one challenge sometimes too emi hard to carry information lo time lo a cyclone from people only all get really affected directly by cyclone or any other climate crisis only got semi-talent before mentality blow same only come out to say give out information because only no one them say value so cyclone spoiling me so any one challenge blow actually acquire information but you put them also me been talent since time is small me really aspire blow come the field and anti Maloney me one will get away all first people will stop the work and me time small me work I'm still looking the TV and just me really admire him how me give him out news especially the tone and at that time me start thinking say if one day supposed me come inside the work probably I'll have the opportunity or privilege plus have walk alongside them but emi start with him especially a person like myself emi start with one role model and also someone to look up to especially lo experience plan through the experience plan way how I give him out information how I'm very consistent so yes, Mimi just come in 2 years ago and I heard a lot of things how I help him media industry, especially here of ABDC and time start, me come inside and unfortunately I lose. So I feel like if only she was here, I think I could learn more of what I could achieve here. Silo journalism work.
Encouraging young ones to BBTC, by February BBTC. Being the service for 38 years, the graduate friends are making. And always think about saying, they shouldn't be in you.
Now, before we continue, let's take a moment to honor those who have gone before us. Their courage and sacrifice inspire us to press on in the face of adversity.
Their legacy lives in our ongoing journey for press freedom.
Now we turn our attention to a concerning trend in Fiji. Mirioni Mili of Fiji TV investigates the dangerous practice of Bluetoothing.
The Ministry of Health is concerned that the use of injectable drugs are contributing to the rise of HIV cases in Fiji. Understanding the risks associated with the practice, known as Bluetoothing, is important in curbing the practice amongst new and potential users. Mironi Mili with this in-depth report.
Drug-free World Fiji founder Kalesi Volatambu says people cannot be naive about the impact of Bluetoothing as a means of sharing injectable drugs among users. Bluetoothing is a very high-risk activity that poses many serious health issues, including the transmission of serious infections such as HIV.
You get the drugs wherever it may be, whether it be heroin, whether it be crystal meth, you actually inject yourself. When I inject myself with it, I take my blood out, thinking that I shoot it to the next person. So can you imagine using the blood then? The blood is high with the drugs, I shoot it into you and then 2 or 4 other people. So it's not just the sharing of the needle, it's sharing of the blood now. Before, from 2019, we were seeing the sharing of needles. Now it's not just sharing needles, we're sharing the blood of someone else, which is, man, I don't even know if Fiji is ready for this.
People are doing drugs using needles and other people do, and that is absolutely wrong. It should not be used. But I don't know these things that they use. Okay.
The use of injectables for drug abuse also increases the risk for HIV. The Ministry of Health recently revealed that HIV numbers doubled in just a year, with over 400 new cases.
Issue, and that is one of the leading cause of HIV cases increase. Bluetoothing, chemsex, that's something new to me as well. When it was firstly explained to me, I was taken aback and how we have progressed in this area. To address those issues, we've also looking forward to the third strategy and how the strategy will address this.
Student leaders at the University of the South Pacific are also concerned over this issue after a needle was allegedly found at the campus.
With the needles being found in the institution, that is something that we need to take into consideration, not only as students, but also for parents. The concern is much more wider when you think about it in that sense. The students that are doing this, most of them probably are not even students, so it really calls for the actions of a concerted effort from all aspects and from all stakeholders, the university themselves, the security team, the students, the student leaders, and we've constantly been doing something about this.
Most certainly, as a student leader, I do see this as a threat coming into the country itself. As you know, with drug peddling going around and the larger society being at threat, we do feel that there must be more awareness going around campus as well as outside of campus, because there are many colleagues, many students, many youth groups that get swayed away with their peers, and you might just find yourself in big trouble.
The Ministry of Health plans to increase national HIV testing by 3% for key population groups, improve access to diagnosis and treatment, reduce stigma and discrimination, and strengthen the governance of the HIV response program. Marioni Mili, Fiji One News.
Corals, vital to the health of our oceans, are under threat. Let's explore the challenges facing Rapa Nui's coral reef.
Es súper triste como llegar a mostrar uno de los lugares que a nosotros más nos gusta de la isla y que esté así destruido. Si llegaran y rompieran un moai, todo el mundo se escandalizaría porque eso es visible para todo el mundo, pero esto lo ve súper poca gente.
Impotencia, rabia, pena, fueron un montón de sentimientos porque ¿cuándo va a ser el día que se entienda que tenemos que proteger el arrecife coralino?
Una denuncia nos alertó sobre el desastre que estaba realizando el ancla de un barco en los corales de Rapa Nui.
103 metros de área afectada ya en su longitud, con un ancho máximo de 49 metros. Eso es para poder dimensionar más o menos cuánto fue el daño de los barcos.
El panorama es desolador. Gran parte del arrecife que está frente a la caleta de Hangaroa está dañado.
Es un corte en todo el esqueleto de carbonato de calcio que forma y donde están asentados estos organismos marinos, que son los pólipos, que viven en colonia, y entonces no es que uno al cortar el coral se corta un organismo, sino se corta la colonia completa de pólipos, y entonces lo que causa es una mortalidad masiva de organismos arrecifales.
Esta no es la primera vez que los corales de Rapa Nui se ven afectados. De hecho, ya existe una investigación por un hecho similar que ocurrió el año 2018 debido a estas cadenas.
Eso es lo que no entendemos, es por qué sigue pasando esto. ¿Cuál es el ente comunicador entre los barcos y que lancen su ancla? O sea, ¿por qué llegan y lanzan la ancla sin saber dónde tienen que lanzarla, siendo que son barcos que vienen años llegando aquí a la isla? Eso es lo que yo, por lo menos yo no entiendo. No entiendo por qué no hay una buena fiscalización. ¿Qué institución se hace responsable como parte de aquí de la isla del tema de los barcos sobre el arrecife de coral? O sea, ¿cuándo le vamos a tomar importancia de que el arrecife contribuye un montón de beneficios para nosotros?
Así lucían hace un par de semanas los corales que rodean el moai sumergido, un ecosistema frágil, hogar de especies únicas en el mundo y que son parte de la cultura de este lugar. Pero hoy esta es la realidad: corales cortados, trozos muriendo en la arena y el hogar de estas especies destruido. ¿Quién es el responsable de este grave daño? Es algo que ya está siendo investigado.
Tenemos imágenes del ancla en los corales, efectivamente, de una de las motonaves que efectúan el traslado de la carga de la isla. Está identificada y está enviada también como información el parte de denuncia que se llevó a la Fiscalía.
Se pueden vislumbrar elementos de interés criminalístico que podrían indicar la comisión de algún tipo de delito o infracción a la ley de pesca, por cuanto el coral que se encuentra en el sector que ya mencioné está dañado.
Rapa Nui es un área marina protegida y la ley de pesca habla de multas que superan los 190 millones de pesos por hechos como estos. Entonces, ¿por qué se siguen lanzando cadenas y anclas sobre sus corales?
Hoy en día no hay una restricción, por lo menos marítima, y es lo que se está trabajando respecto a la prohibición de fondeo en algunos lugares de la isla. Actualmente estamos trabajando con el Consejo del Mar para levantar oficialmente en dónde se encuentran estos corales, poder generar una normativa marítima de prohibición, objeto que ya sean las naves de transferencia o los yates que regalan aquí al área, sepan con anticipación que si van a buscar un punto de fondeo no puede ser sobre los corales, y para eso necesitamos levantar oficialmente dónde se encuentra el arrecife.
Hay que hacer un mea culpa acá porque aquí hubo un dejo de parte no solamente de la autoridad marítima, sino también a lo mejor de los que estamos involucrados en el mar. No necesariamente el Consejo, sino que también hay muchas personas que estamos detrás y no nos involucramos en esa problemática. Yo me enteré este año de que hubo un problema con unas cadenas que se tiraron y la verdad que cada vez que se hacía alguna denuncia o queja no pasaba más allá de que quedara en la Armada. Entonces ahí hay una culpa, yo creo, a nivel comunidad que nos hace ser responsables de esta falta de desinterés con respecto a los corales.
Desde el Consejo del Mar Rapa Nui aseguran que en los próximos días comenzarán a trabajar en la actualización de la carta de navegación y en la verificación de las zonas de corales. Una acción que se necesita con urgencia para evitar que esto vuelva a pasar.
Marine pollution continues to plague our oceans. Felipe Vergara reports on efforts to combat plastic pollution in the Pacific.
Durante 3 días, los líderes de distintas islas del Pacífico, científicos y activistas medioambientales se reunieron en Rapa Nui con un solo objetivo: alzar la voz y realizar un llamado de emergencia al mundo sobre la contaminación de plástico y microplástico que está afectando a los océanos.
According to United Nations, around 430 million tons of plastic is produced annually worldwide. Of that, up to 23 million tons is being dumped into the ecosystem every year. That's an equivalent to more than 2,000 garbage truckloads per day.
The problem is huge. I think if you compare today with 10 years ago, 10 years ago we were just using, and we're not aware of this is not good and it doesn't go away if we don't dispose it in the right way. The good thing today is we're aware that there's too much plastic out there. We are aware that it should not end up in the ocean, it should not end up in a landfill, but now it's also time for action. It's good to be aware that it's wrong and that we need to do something, but it's time for the next step, and that's why today's summit is very important as well.
Durante la cumbre de líderes del Pacífico se puede evidenciar cómo el plástico está dañando las islas que, debido a las corrientes marinas, reciben este material de distintas zonas del mundo. De hecho, solo Rapa Nui recibe más de 50 veces desperdicios plásticos que las costas continentales cercanas.
Estamos viviendo una vida de plástico. No es la vida que queremos. Eso tiene que cambiar. Lo que está haciendo el plástico para nosotros nos está abriendo los ojos y nos está diciendo de que estamos consumiendo veneno.
Durante el encuentro internacional se conversó sobre las estrategias para lograr detener esta contaminación y cómo los saberes ancestrales de los pueblos indígenas pueden contribuir contra esta problemática.
The big problem is actually a crisis of the heart and the mind, because we are using our planet as a rubbish dump. We have separated ourselves from nature, and so Indigenous people have a big spiritual message to give to the world, actually. We've got to reconnect with nature, respect nature, because only nature provides us with the life-giving, proper clean air, clean water, clean soil. So the plastic is, polluting all of that. So we have to be more mindful and respect, Papatuanuku, Earth Mother, Ranginui, Sky Father, Tangaroa, of the sea. All of those things we need to do.
Los asistentes a este evento organizado por la Municipalidad de Rapa Nui, con el apoyo del Ministerio de Relaciones Exteriores de Chile y el Sistema de las Naciones Unidas en Chile, firmaron una declaración en la que se reconoce la existencia de una triple crisis planetaria asociada al cambio climático, la pérdida de la biodiversidad y la contaminación. En el documento se comprometieron a acelerar acciones concretas para proteger el océano, especialmente contra la contaminación por plástico y microplástico en la región del Pacífico.
We must work together to tackle this urgent threat to our environment. Despite of the dangers, female journalists around the world refuse to be silenced. Voice of America explores the risk they face in pursuit of the truth.
Amplifying the voices of women globally, First Lady Jill Biden welcomes the 2024 Women of Courage awardees. Among them, Ugandan journalist and lawyer Agatha Atuhaire. Seen as a trusted voice for social justice and accountability, the journalist's work has helped bring change, but at a price. Reporting on powerful people brings threats, she says.
So much. I used to be a carefree person. I never thought of watching over my shoulders, watching what I eat, because for the last 3 or so years, that's the life I have lived, that every day you create an enemy.
Despite the dangers, Atuhaire says she will keep speaking out.
Because if you are fearful, you're going to live in that fear forever and in those conditions that you that you would want to talk about. But what's the worst that can happen if you spoke? You know, you could probably die, but you would have inspired someone else to speak up.
Journalists, especially female reporters, are increasingly singled out for attack, said media analysts.
And we see that happening more for women than we do for men. In addition, what we are seeing these days is the targeting of women for mis- and disinformation campaigns.
In countries like Afghanistan, women's voices are falling silent. The Taliban return largely removed women from media, restricted their travel, and imposed strict dress codes that make work difficult.
We see the basic inability of them to be part of the news industry. Therefore, we are missing that voice, although there are certainly incredibly brave women who are daring to report from those countries so that we can get those stories.
Those able to report say their work can have a powerful impact.
You know, I felt like there was the potential to impact the world in a really meaningful way, and to do it through a combination of what moves the heart because of the emotion that is communicated through photography, as well as intellectually because of what the photo means.
Dufka has covered conflicts and civil wars. She was one of the few women in her field during her career.
Secondly, I wanted to add to the historical record of the conflicts covered, some of them which were and continue to be chronically undercovered or underrepresented in the media, and also to contribute to the role of women in photojournalism.
With studies showing female journalists targeted with threats and harassment, advocates want to bridge the gap. Their focus, more women in newsrooms and better support and protections. Cristina Caicedo-Smith, VOA News.
Their resilience serves as a beacon of hope in our fight for press freedom.
Prior to the 52nd Pacific Island Leaders Forum meeting in Cook Islands, journalists received anti-corruption training on reporting. Let's hear from media gurus John Hyde, Kalafi Moala, and Ramon.
I look at how in the last 15 years, and we often took a story was a minister or a prime minister denied that there was corruption occurring, and that was the end of the story. And now media in the Pacific are amazing. You're going like dogs after the bone and following up with them. And it is a credit to the way the media has developed here. And you know, we've got to give credit to PINA and to a lot of the other partners in media development, but also to PIVS for opening this space to all of you to be given this opportunity. When I started in journalism, before many of you were born, or your parents were born, and there was this mantra that we have to be independent, we're not part of the news. I think there's the understanding now that media has a role in terms of governance and in terms of making sure that if something isn't being reported, that's a story as well. So if there is a system failure, if women are being excluded, if whistleblowers are being excluded, then that is part of the story. It's not your opinion, but it's you addressing the whole story, not just what's been given in a media release. Corruption is a moral issue, but it's also a legal issue. So it can only be a corrupt practice if it meets the legal requirements. And what may be in your country is different in yours. So again, it's using Pacific voices to not to just tell the story, but to put it in the right context. That clearly something cannot be excused as being cultural if it is corrupt.
We need in the region the media to be more focused. It's like going into a hospital and all you have in there are general practitioners. There are no specialists. that will deal with operations and surgeries. And we see that anti-corruption is really a specialist, very focused area. And all of media need to become more focused. We're not just general practitioners to come up with information and news and throw it to the public, but we need to focus on the things that really defines our role, that we are really watchdog of society, and the specific role of speaking truth to power is very important. And culture is such a important thing throughout the Pacific. We don't want to be anti-cultural, because all of us are cultural people. We're living out our culture daily, you know. I mean, I don't go yes, yes, yes like the Indians do, because in Tonga, going like this is no. That's culture. You know, we go like this. When I was living in Asia, we don't eat with the left hand for obvious practical reasons. You know, some of you know. And yet in Tonga, left hand that's the best hand to eat with, you know. So culture that's our life, something that we live with. It's learned behavior. And when more than two people start doing it, that's cultural. But culture have been used so much as a cover for corruption. And at least in my own country, it's been used so tremendously, particularly in terms of bribery, elections. We had one early in the year. And from experience, I, with no exception, culture to me is the biggest cover-up for corruption, at least in my country. Almost every case, they'll throw in the culture excuse here. And we're doing it because it's culture, yeah.
And I think that should be something, a reminder for journalists on a daily basis, because, you know, like all professions, we also have a code of conduct, you know? And I think that's the core of the work that we do. And you know, some people say there are good journalists, bad journalists. And some people say there are journalists who work for the government and journalists who don't work for the government. You know? So, but you know, whoever you are, I think at the core of your heart and your integrity, you know, as a journalist, you don't just go into journalism just because it's an employment opportunity, but I'm sure it's because you are passionate about it, and the job does entail, you know, that we do self-checks on ourselves, you know, and it's a daily thing for me actually. When I write a story, and I sort of get carried out in firing the points, that I stop and I question myself: am I being fair here, or am I being, you know, just, am I being biased or something like that? So it's important that we always do that self-check and responsibility in our report.
Their words of wisdom inspire us to uphold integrity in our reporting.
And now it's time for our Q&A session.
Pulo Benaka, I'm Mapinis Wangarandobu. I'm a multimedia journalist at the Future Broadcasting Corporation.
FBC's senior multimedia reporter shares insight on today's theme and his thoughts on challenges in the Pacific. Let's dive into our first question.
Environmental crisis in the region has made reporting on environmental issues in the Pacific, you know, more crucial now than ever before. For the second part of the question, I would have to say that the challenges we have would have to be limited resources, as well the accessing remote communities. Community-focused reporting. Collaborating with local communities on reporting, you know, the issues on climate issues that they face in their communities, and gathering their perspectives on environmental issues. Thereby, this way, we are amplifying their voices, and given that most of them, or the majority of these people who are being affected by climate issues, are living or are maybe from marginalized communities. I believe that you know, media freedom plays a very crucial part in reporting the climate issues that you know, people are facing on their everyday life. Without media freedom, what are we going to report? So for Fiji's context, I would have to say that we are sort of lucky because both the previous government and the current government are always working to address the issues or the environmental issues that the people on the ground are facing. I believe that getting the perspective of those who are affected is important. It should come as top priority than anything else. It should come on top of the priority than political influence or any other influence that there may be. So this is where ethics plays a very important role. It's either you report on the issues that are being faced, or you become unethical. So how you go about with it depends on how ethical you are. So I believe that every journalist should have that sort of sense on how to go about with being able to report on contentious issues. Yes, investigative reporting on environmental issues has often led to shifts in public perception and government policies, and we've seen that here in Fiji by exposing environmental risk and highlighting the urgency of actions such as reporting can galvanize public concern, leading to increased pressure on policymakers to address the issue that has been raised through our reporting. This can result in implementation of new regulations, policies or initiatives. And in the past we've seen that the Fijian government has made proactive steps when we raise environmental issues by ensuring doing thorough research, providing context and presenting diverse perspectives in their reporting. And this is something that we are often told here at the Fijian Broadcasting Corporation. If you are to report on climate issues, then you have to be your presentation has to be diverse, and you should have an objective to achieve. We should adhere to ethical principles again, and also that includes fairness and accuracy. We need to advocate for change by emphasizing solutions and amplifying voices of those who are mostly affected by this issue. I think citizen journalism can play a significant role in raising awareness about environmental issues in the Pacific region by just by providing coverage that traditional media may overlook. That's one of the biggest role that I believe traditional reporting can do. Yes, there are several issues or environmental issues currently being faced throughout the whole Pacific region. But for instance, the impact of climate change on vulnerable island nations. This, I believe that not enough reporting has been done on this. Particularly here in Fiji, we have more than hundreds and hundreds of small islands, and these islands are given their locality. It's a bit hard for journalists to get to the site, so I feel that reporting there has been really no justice, not enough has been done to report on the issues that they face. And also additionally, like issues like marine pollution. This is another major issue because we are covered with waters. There is another topic that deserves to be covered properly is overfishing and deforestation. I believe that media organizations can support and protect journalists covering environmental issues, especially in regions with threatened press freedom, just by providing resources for safety, safety training, legal assistance, as well as physical protection. Those are just the three things that I came up with. For this question, I have to say that looking ahead, I hope to see a deeper, more and more understanding of the relationship between journalism and the environmental crisis in the Pacific. This includes increased collaboration between journalists, scientists, policymakers, as well as local communities, and even just between journalists themselves. I also hope for greater recognition of the vital role that media freedom plays in enabling journalists to just fulfill their watchdog function and hold power to account in the pursuit of environmental justice. Thank you.
Vinaka Vakalevu Abenisa for your valuable perspective.
In the Solomon Islands, women are taking a stand against logging. Jeremy Guao reports on their effort to protect their communities and the environment.
There seems to be little hope but to safeguard their land. What was meant to be a joyous festive event where families, especially children and mothers, could participate has turned into a nightmare. Logging has left them traumatized.
Mifala doing in a protest, peaceful protest, in 3 different dates, and also Mifala put him up this peaceful protest in 3 different dates, and also Mifala put him up fence so that Mifala also read him that message, but Mifala stop first time, and Mifala need him dialogue with them oketa landowners. And also that okata herem too, thinking lo Mifala and Mifala herem too, but it never happens. Only once, okata able for go and meet with them oketa landowners, but oketa no comply lo what not been promised and assured with people. The next day, logging continue operates.
In just few months, the community has suffered devastating losses, including vital resources, ancestral burial sites, and their deep-rooted connection to the land. Now their primary concern shifts to the urgent need for water.
Yeah, for the women, especially side livelihood lo Mifala, big concern lo Mifala na water ya. Mifala no dispute him or Mifala no against him or land there, but Mifala can stand together as women, as mothers, because Mifala got a great concern about the children lo Mifala and future, because water have life here, water have very important. It's a basic essential need every day that we need drinking water. Mifala used to enjoy the water where Mifala receiving finished inside the house, very close. Now, knowing water Mifala used to drink contaminated now and polluted now.
Under Section 25(1) of the Environment Act 1998, which states that a developer shall not carry on any development except in accordance with the development concern. But for Conide customary land, already it causes damages.
Oketa had to listen na. No matter what look at me for a lot of women go up cry, lot of landowners. Oketa tell themselves just by me fall a little bit stop. But the next day logging continue. And me fall really feel that the men putting me for women just down under their feet. Him that how me feel. And that's him really break him heart from me fall. As Isabel, me for mat really see him, yeah. Women are very important. So mi fala raising voice blo mi fala. Wota herem. Rights blo mi fala. Rights blo pikinini blo mi fala. Because future pikinini and not the future blo mi fala. So mi fala hem na mi fala really go as together as mothers and do what peaceful protest there. So that mi fala voice him out. Rights blo mi fala. Voices blo mi fala. Okay, the things that have been damaged and how important future about the children blo mi fala and yeah everything around the environment mi fala.
These mothers are standing firm in their rights, demanding an end to logging activities on their land is a beacon of hope.
Logging him stop. But him bringing comfort logging.
Amidst the impactful issues of logging in the Solomon Islands, Conide Customary Land is making an effort to push for a halt. For Tavali News, I am Jeremy Guao.
Their courage inspires us to advocate for sustainable development. Resilience in the face of adversity. Let's take a look at TBC's disaster recovery and resilience following the tsunami and volcanic eruption.
Breaking news, a tsunami is hitting Tonga right now after more severe volcanic activity there.
Tonga's capital, Nuku'alofa, is covered in a thick film of volcanic dust.
At the time of the volcanic eruption, the building was not yet commissioned, but we had to open up the building for the people to evacuate to. We were lucky. We just serviced our FM in the night. We serviced it in December, repainted, and put it up again, and the volcanic eruption in January. And we were the only one providing one-way communication to the public. And we were so proud. Covered with ashes, and we have to clean it up. The TV and satellite receiving were all off, everything off, and especially the connectivity, the internet. At that time, TBC feel that we are alone. We cannot communicate. As a technical manager, the idea was there. We just didn't have the money to put up a backup satellite. We were all relying on ISP providers.
When the eruption happened, they didn't have any functional satellite equipment. And so we ended up with Intelsat and others communicating with Lionel, who's here, and Anthony and others to work out what they needed on the island to get the equipment that they actually had, because there was components missing because they weren't using it.
Within 12 or so hours we knew what satellite capacity we could turn on and make her available. What you want to do is say, okay, how do I get equipment into the facility, into the location as quickly as possible? So we were all collectively moving in the background.
As a telco industry in Tonga, we failed Tonga because there was a cable cut earlier and we should have had the resilience there, but we were complacent. But what I wanted to talk about is the attitude and the spirit that I saw, that spirit of unity that showed in that time. You got to work together in times of crisis, and that's what Pacific people do. We always work together in times of crisis, and you got to be selfless. And we saw a lot of that in Tonga during that time.
So we learned from that, really learned from that. We should have an internet backup or satellite uplink for our programs. If we did have that, we can share at the time, at the moment, what we did experience on the volcanic eruptions. Now we are very glad that we had in place the new early warning systems and saved lives in Tonga. So now broadcasting no longer inform, educate and entertain. It's now blasting, saving lives. That's what broadcasting is. Thank you.
Through their solidarity and perseverance, Tonga rebuilds stronger than ever. Before we conclude, here's a special message from TBC in honor of World Press Freedom Day.
Maloi mali ho e ki moi le li tonga ko tape.
Station set seat on
On behalf of Tonga Broadcasting Commission, the CEO and the staff is happy to celebrate World Press Freedom Day for 2024. The theme for this year is A Press for the Planet, protecting journalists and the scientists in defense of the environment. On May 3rd of every year, journalists come together to celebrate World Press Freedom Day, where in honor of journalists, work over the years is being celebrated happily. So on behalf of TBC, happy World Press Freedom Day 2024. Malo and Ofato.
Today we explored the vital role of journalism in addressing the environmental crisis. As we commemorate World Press Freedom Day, let us remain vigilant in our pursuit for truth and justice. From all of us at Pasifika TV, thank you for watching. Until next time, stay informed and empowered. Ka kite.